Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Femme Force podcast. My name is Rachael and I am your host. And today I am so excited because I am joined by my new friend, Alison. Alison is a fundraiser, a board member, and an advocate for women in healthcare and education. And she's passionate about fundraising and uses it as a tool to, inspire communities and really drive people's careers. And we're going to talk about how she turned it from just a college course she took into a career, and how asking for money is a lot like dating, which, we love to talk about here, and why volunteering and board service are the best kept secrets for women's professional growth, which I completely agree with. So I'm so excited to have you here. Thanks for being here, Alison.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk with you.
So can you tell the audience just a little bit about you and what you actually do today?
Sure. So I'm a fundraiser. A lot of careers, they're easy to tell what people do. I find with fundraising, people often get confused. They say to me, are you the events person? Are you the photothon gal that calls me for money from my alma mater? As a fundraiser, I build relationships with people that have capacity to give back and an affinity towards the cause that I'm working at. So it's an incredible opportunity to gain relationships with people that want to make a difference and match make them to whatever organization I'm working for. Meaning, if they feel connected, if they want to do something that makes a difference, I'm the conduit that gets that privilege to make that gift happen and build that relationship to the organization.
And that's so amazing because you're really just connecting people with what they're capable of giving, and for really great organizations, for the purpose of helping so many others out there.
Yeah, it's
That's
great.
so cool. And the
Yeah.
moment you fell in love with fundraising was a fundraising 101 class, which I didn't even know was a class,
Yes.
as you were studying human development. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yes. So I actually graduated college with a degree in human development. I went to graduate school and I took Fundraising 101 because I was taking statistics, economics. I was getting a degree in nonprofit management. And I said, okay, this will be an easy course. Let's do it.
Yeah.
The word fun is in it. How hard could this be?
101. You're like, I got this.
Like, I got this. Between trying to figure out statistics, this will be great. And the professor in the first class talked about building relationships, getting people excited about nonprofits and how you can close these transformative gifts that make a difference, whether it's a new building, a research fund to help fight pediatric cancer. And I literally had stars in my eyes. I don't remember much of the rest of the 60-minute class except the first 10 minutes. And I was so excited. I called my parents and I said, I know what I want to be for the rest of my life. And they have careers that are very black and white, lawyer, oncology nurse, right away what to do. And I said, I know what I want to be. And they took a breath. I'm the youngest. They said, okay, here we go. And I said, I want to be a fundraiser for the rest of my life. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to build relationships, ask for money, close gifts, work for nonprofits. It's going to be amazing. This is what I want to do. And they got a little bit quiet. And, my father being a lawyer said, well, it's legal. And if this is what you do, that's okay.
Top priority. It's legal.
It's legal. We're good. This is not what we thought you would be, but okay. It's not top 10 career choices when kids call their parents and say, this is what I want to be. And I also added, I said to my parents, it's really because of the two of you. And then my mom chimed in and said, well, what do you mean it's because of the two of us? I said, you've always been active in the community. You taught me and my siblings giving back is important, how important volunteerism is, philanthropy is. All this, you've been training me for this moment. And I really say that. I feel like I've been trained my whole life to do fundraising. And my mom chuckled and she said, okay, if you want to do this, like Dad said, it's legal. You're excited. Knock yourself out and the rest is history. That's how I got in.
Yeah, but that's amazing. And you've really loved it.
Yeah, I've had people say to me, you should go into sales. You should switch into the corporate world. And technically I could. The skill set is very similar to someone in corporate sales. But for me, I've always known that I love this line of work because I'm very grateful. I know I have a purpose. I have a lot of friends that when they talk about the work they do, everyone has struggles when it comes to your job, things you like, things you don't like.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I know there's a purpose in what I do, that someone somewhere, even if I don't know them by name, is benefiting because of the work I do. So on the
Yeah.
hard days, which happens, right? You get a lot of
1,000%. Yeah. A lot of
it
no's.
really, a lot of no's. It puts things into perspective, and I'm grateful to have a role, a professional career where I'm giving back. It's really rewarding, and I'm very lucky to be able to say that.
Now, in your field, is it more women than men that are doing this?
So it's very interesting in the nonprofit field. Don't know the statistics off the top of my head, but if you ask anyone in fundraising, they will say it's a female dominated space. I'm not sure why. I think it's just something historically that has always been welcoming to women. It doesn't matter what college degree you have to be a
Mm.
fundraiser. There's no, oh, well, you should have taken finance 101. So it's always predominantly has been women.
Which is so interesting because I feel like there's this skepticism within the world and like socially that women are innately worse with money. And it's so much harder for women to talk about money and we don't bring it up and things like that. But like you're literally asking for money for these amazing organizations. So it's a little counterintuitive when you think about how society has really placed that on us.
Right. I think society has that stereotype of us. And what people often leave out of that equation is money goes often back to what your family life was like when you were growing up, what your
Yeah.
relationships are like, right? It really, it trickles into everything. So when I talk to people about a donation, about money, I tell people I really learn a lot about the house they grew up in and also the home they're in now, right? Because decision making around money, if you're anxious around money, you see all of that come out. And I think women in this field, we do so well and we love fundraising because you're able to build relationships and trusts. And the core of money is, you have the power to change the world for good with your
Yeah.
purse. And I think it's something that in this field, it's not so much talking about money, it's the power of that dollar and what it can do. And it just transforms so many things. It's really exciting to be able to have
Yeah.
them.
And I love thinking about it like that because so many people, are very, especially like the Gen Z generation and things like that. We're so focused on finding jobs that like match with their culture and like culturally and what makes them feel good and that the company's doing really good things. And when I was in, big bad tech, everyone's like, but don't you feel bad? And I'm like, no, because you know what my paycheck's like and what I get to do with that paycheck. I'm like, I choose where my money goes and I have the ability to give it to organizations that I want to promote and like put it towards things that I want to put it towards and help people out simply with money. Like it is what it is, but it's a defining factor in so many things. Like if you don't have it, it's a lot harder.
Yes, absolutely. There's power in having it and to be able to make a decision where you give it and what organizations do with it. That's a privilege. That's an incredible honor. And I don't take that lightly, right?
Yeah.
Money, deeply, deeply personal.
Mhm.
And we talk about that aspect when we talk about personal finances. But it's the same when where you make that donation, it's deeply personal. I could say, Rachel, I'm running a 5K tomorrow. Please give to my 5K. But if you don't feel a personal connection to the cause I'm running for, you might give because we're friends and
Yeah.
you want to help. But if you don't like that charity or feel a connection, it's harder for you to part with that gift, right? And maybe you'll do it once because again, we're friends, but you won't do it the next year. It's deeply personal. Money, donations, it's always a deeply personal connection.
Do you feel like a lot of people donate to specific charities that probably affected them some way in the past or could have affected them in the past? Like if you were an orphan, like donating to, orphanages or anything like that, or if you grew up in an abusive household, giving to like domestic violence and things like that. Do you feel like that is a tie that people have that are really close to money with it?
Yes, I often ask what people care about, and that
Mhm.
will trickle into how they make decisions where their donation goes, right? How do you spend your time? What do you worry about? What do you care about? And when you look at when they share what organizations they give to, those past experiences or what they're thinking about for the future, right? What's going to impact my children? What's going to impact me in 10 years? It all adds up to where does my dollar go? So yes, past experiences will be brought up, and it definitely influences how someone makes a choice about where they want to give.
I mean, I love that. It's so phenomenal that you look like that at the world and like how we can really adjust our senses around money. And
Right.
when you're doing a fundraiser, what makes a successful fundraiser? Is it hitting the goal? Is it getting new relationships or new, clients to come in that will be donating for a longer period of time?
So what I tell people, the best part about this role is that you can be a different type of person, right? There's introverts, extroverts. You can major in finance, not major in finance. For an organization, of course, goal setting is important. So you
Yeah.
have to hit your goal, show that you can close gifts. But for me, I tell people the best fundraisers are the ones that build relationships and hold them, meaning it's not transactional. You know how
Okay.
important it is for someone to give that donation. You care about them, not just in the moment of making the gift and you hitting your goal, but long term, right? I tell people the biggest success for me is what's going to happen in 10 or 20 years. Maybe I'll be with the nonprofit, maybe I won't be, but is that donor still involved? Do they feel good about their experience that they had with me? Because I take that deeply personal, right? If they don't have a good experience donating to the organization with me, they might not trust the next fundraiser. They might stop giving to the organization. I want to ensure that I'm a good steward of their donation and make sure they understand the impact that they've made and the long lasting effect that their donation has had. That's incredible. When they feel good about giving back, they'll give again. They'll care more about the organization. They'll want to volunteer. They'll want to join a board. They'll just get more involved and it's a
Yeah.
win-win. So I always say the most successful fundraisers are ones that can build the relationships and sustain them over time.
And can you share a story where a relationship turned into like a transformational gift?
Yeah.
Earnings.
Oftentimes I talk about the not so great experience that turned into a good experience because fundraisers, we often love to talk about big gifts and what went right and
Yeah.
wins. And sometimes you're just like, oh my gosh, but you know that they went through so many rejections. Why don't they talk about it? So I often share the story, which has become a little bit a part of my fundraiser DNA, is that I went on my first travel assignment. And, when you plan out these trips, you think about who your anchors are, who people that can really move the needle and give back. And I thought I planned it so well. And I met this couple and I said, oh my gosh, this is it. This is going to be great. And everything that could go wrong went wrong, right? Getting lost to the restaurant, them telling me I'm too young to be asking for money, making jokes about, fundraisers, everything that could go wrong went wrong in the moment. And the thing about fundraising is you have to pull yourself together
Hmm.
and go to the next meeting, right? So even if you have this not great moment of, oh my gosh, can I do this job? You have
Yeah.
to pull yourself together. So that's what I did. In my head, I had a moment of, oh my gosh, I'm going to call my boss. This is the end of my career. It was my first year of fundraising. I said, maybe this is a sign from the universe that I'm not meant to be a fundraiser. I got to call my parents and tell them, you know what? I was wrong when I told you this is my career path. I take it back. And in the next meeting, I had this gracious man who we didn't know much about. We had a great conversation. He said, what do you really want to talk to me about? And I said, I want to talk to you about a long-term partnership. What would it look like if we got you involved now? And eventually, when you're ready to give back to something deeply meaningful that would pay tribute to, he lost his father, to your father, what could that look like?
Yeah.
And it was incredible. And it's someone that I'm very proud to say I'm still in touch with today.
I love that.
I told him recently how he changed my whole career trajectory. I don't think he knows quite yet that I tell this story so much.
We can send him this.
I should send him this. He'd be like, oh my gosh, Alison. But in that moment, I realized the no's get you to the yeses. And even when you think, oh my gosh, how am I going to get through this? Building that relationship, I am so proud of that. And the fact that I'm still in touch with him today, his family, I know his children, he knows about my nephews, my parents. That's incredible, right? And he's still involved with that nonprofit. So I feel like that's where there was a situation where it was challenging. There was a no, and it turned into a long-term yes.
And for you personally, how do you deal with when people reject or having to, do the uncomfortable asks, or when they're making what I consider inappropriate jokes or comments about, age and what you're doing?
It's hard. A lot of people will say, oh, you can't take it personally, which is true. But the thing is, you're a person and
Yeah.
these things are coming at you. You're going to take it personally. I tell everyone the biggest thing is time. It gets easier with time. You understand your strengths, how to handle a situation, how to navigate a hard conversation, because any conversation about money is never easy. I tell that to people that want to get into fundraising. It is fun to build relationships, to meet people, but you still have to do negotiation, right? Like you're trying to figure out what they can give, what's the level, over how many years, will they feel good about this? And they might just have had a really bad day yesterday or spilled coffee on them that morning, and they're just not in the mood to discuss a transformative gift, or they changed their mind. I tell a lot of people it's often like improv. You have to go with what's happening in the moment.
Yeah.
And if someone says no, and I've had it all the time, another person will say yes. Your door will open. The hard part is, which I still find hard, you don't know which door is your door, right? So that sounds all great. You go through no, you pull yourself together and say, okay, the next door. Sometimes you have to wait a while until the other door opens, but eventually it does, as long as you put in the work.
I mean, and for life, that's such good advice. Like you have to put in the work and you have to get involved in these things. And when it comes to getting involved in nonprofits, how do you do that? I feel like a lot of women, we're professional, capital P over here, and we're doing, the normal corporate, 9 to 5 kind of thing, or whatever your job may be. But being on a nonprofit board, I feel like is so important. And I'm on a few of them for, charities that I love and are close to my heart, and would, I give both my time and my money, but your time is also so valuable. And like your experiences are so valuable to these companies. Mm-hmm. So how do you get involved? Like where can women find out, like how you find out if you can be on a board or how to apply and things like that?
Yeah, there's the technical part, which is idealist.org, even LinkedIn. You can type in board member and it will show you positions for nonprofits where it outlines directly what a board membership entails, the organization and their mission. That's the technical side. I tell people, write a list of what do you like? What do you care about? I always find that fun when I talk to prospects. What do you care about? When people say, I love animals. That's great. Think about the animal charities in your area. If you reach out and say you want to get involved, I tell everyone, nobody's going to say, oh my gosh, we can't believe she reached out and wants to get involved. They'll be over the moon, right? And when it comes to board membership, oftentimes they want women involved because historically it's been men. It has. That's just the data.
It's the corporate world. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. So I tell everyone, there's the technical side, using the World Wide Web, right, to look up what you want to do, but also then making a list of what you care about, reaching out to those organizations, and seeing where you spend your time too. I have friends that volunteer at a soup kitchen and they said, oh, well, how do I get onto a board? I said, well, you told me about that great soup kitchen that you care about. Why don't you reach out to the volunteer coordinator? I'm sure she'll put you in touch with a fundraiser or a lay leader that can talk to you about what that looks like. So it's just making space to figure out what do you really enjoy doing and where do you want to spend your time? Because to your point, we're busy climbing that corporate ladder, doing great in the career space. So if you take on something extra, you really want to make sure it's worthwhile and that you enjoy it.
I mean, and it's only beneficial, I think. So how do you feel that being on a board impacts your career and the leadership growth?
Oh, I tell everyone it's the best thing because selfishly, you'll feel great to give back, right? Board membership includes generosity. You're giving back to a cause that you care about. And then you're networking. You're meeting people from different
Mhm.
backgrounds, different career fields, and they'll help you in one way or the other, right? If you need a connection to a new apartment, or you're interested in a job at a different organization. Oh, that board member actually knows a lawyer that works there. It all helps you. It's new connections, new relationships, and you have this community formed. You're able to make new friends as well. So I tell everyone it's a win-win as long as you have the time and the capacity to take it on. It's great. It's another tool for networking without being awkward, right? You're not walking into a room and figuring out, do you like what I like? You're already in a room of people that are raising their hand that are saying, I care about the same thing you do. And
Yeah.
that's easier to start a conversation, right? You're able to go, oh, we're here because we care about the same thing. I can talk to you right away. We already have something in common.
I mean, and I think it's so good for what, like that networking experience is fun. When I got laid off, like one of the first networks that I reached out to were all of like the boards that I was on. I was like, if any of you know, you obviously have seen me in a boardroom, you know that I can be a leader and all these other things that come along with it. Like if you could reach out to anybody or let me know if you hear of anything, like that would be great. And because you're on the same professional level, being on a board, I feel like it's so much easier to ask those asks.
Absolutely. You're able to pick up the phone or text, and they're willing to do it because they've seen you already in action. They know what you care about. They know what you bring to the table. So they're quicker to help you because they get it and they want to. Why not? You know?
Yeah, they're giving back. This is the thing. So they're like, sure, we'll do that. So I'd
Exactly.
love for you to talk about the ARPP story and
Oh,
what that taught you.
yes. So when I first got into fundraising, I was working at Columbia Business School. I was doing administrative work, which is great. You learn a lot, stuffing
Yeah.
envelopes and answering phones. I tell everyone has to start somewhere. And my
Mhm.
boss was so gracious. She said, we adore you, but there's nothing entry here. You got to look and see what else there is. NYU had a job posting and the letters ARP were in it. And I said, oh my gosh, I love old people. This is great. Like my grandparents and I connect really well. This is fabulous. And I applied and I got called in for a meeting because back then, no Zoom, right?
Yep.
HR rep said, why do you want this job? And I start having this deep conversation about my grandparents and respecting the elderly and how important it is. And his eyes, glazed over a little bit and he was very confused. And as I moved along in the interview process, I then learned that the ARP actually meant affinity, regional, there was another R, reunions, and then the P was parents. And those were the communities that this role would work with. And I had no idea. I
Yeah.
thought going to be fundraising with senior citizens. And I said, okay, well, it's a start, right? Like if I can do it, I can move on. And it taught me, life is improv. You got to go with it. And luckily the HR rep was very gracious and, didn't challenge me, so to speak. And eventually I figured it out. And I think that's life and career in general. You
A
figure it out.
thousand percent.
I was totally wrong about what the job was, but I figured it out and it all worked out.
I mean, we've all been there. I feel like I mean, I'm in security, but when I had to interview at a tech company and they're like, so what's your favorite product? And I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
I use Google. Like, I don't,
Right.
like,
Right.
I don't know the details. This is not my area of expertise, guys. Ask me
Right.
something about my specific job. I can answer that, but like, there's probably 4 million products I don't even know about that are out there because this is not within the realm of my capabilities here,
Yeah, exactly.
which is so funny. And when you volunteer or when you think people should be volunteering, how do you think it can open doors, not just professionally, but personally, like either on a social level or an emotional level?
I think because you're connecting with someone that cares about something that you deem important. So you're able to be more vulnerable about what's going on in your life, to call on someone if there's something challenging or hard going on. I think it opens doors to seeing how an organization is run, how a board is run, which is good in all aspects. And then also building a group of friends that can be there for you. And because boards, as you know, you meet often, right? You
Yeah.
have rapport. They get to know you on a personal level. So I think it opens you up to talk about what's really going on in your life and also in the world, because for whatever nonprofit you're working with, it has an impact on society and the global community, which leads to sometimes really vulnerable and open dialogues, which I think are needed and they're great to have.
What qualifications do you think that you should be like you should possess to want to be on a board or to apply to be on a board?
So I think the main things come down to affinity. You care deeply about the organization. Don't just do it because you need a resume bullet point or you think, oh, well, this might be something to do in the afternoon. You really have to care about the organization because you're going to be so involved. You're an ambassador for that nonprofit.
Yeah.
Capacity. You have to be able to give back in some way. Nonprofits have different board giving requirements. Some will prefer that you give and also get people involved as well. So figuring out financially what you're able to do. And then time wise, do you want to spend your time doing this? Because again, we're all so busy running around corporate life, personal life, making sure we're catching up with friends. Really make sure you have the time to do it because board meetings could be 4 to 6 times a year, depending on the organization and the budget. And you also have a responsibility when you become a board member to that nonprofit to make sure they're in good standing, to make sure that financially they're doing well. If they have events, if there's challenges that come up, which often do with nonprofits, right? Depending on what's going on. You have to make sure that you have the time to take on that responsibility.
No, and that's just, I think people think you can just put it on your resume sometime. And I'm like, there's actually like a lot of work that goes behind it. And sometimes even if you want to just be on a board, you end up having to run a committee and then that's an additional time. And you're like working on that committee and like managing people. And I think that's a great trait it teaches you too. You get to manage people. And one of the things that I've always loved about it is that it's not your day job. So like if you want to try something new, like I'm on a marketing committee. I have no marketing background.
Right.
I don't market on my day to day. I am not leading that marketing committee by any means, shape, or form, because that would be a bad choice for that nonprofit. But I'm learning a lot as I go. It's like where the lead is, and like that's her job. She's always been in marketing and like how her brain thinks and looking at it that way. So it's also really beneficial to me to expose myself to this thing that's new.
I'm glad you said that because people will tell me they're frustrated at work. I don't get to manage. I don't get this responsibility. Well, if you're on a board, you can ask to manage a committee. You don't get to design a report at work. You really want to dip your toe into design, but because you're not on that team, you can't. Well, you can volunteer on the board to help design the impact report or work with the design marketing team that's involved in that. Mm-hmm. So to your point, you can really learn from it and grow in different ways and raise your hand and say, you know what, I don't get to do this in the other side of my life, but I want to try it out. And 9 times out of 10, because it's a nonprofit, they'll take the help. They'll say yes. They'll want you to be more involved.
Well, I think in addition, people think it's just always about the money. And I'm like, yeah, the money is important. Don't get me wrong. That's how it's going to fund. It's how it's going to get to people, all of those things. But also your time as a professional is so, I feel like women undervalue their time all the time, especially mothers and like stay-at-home moms and people. Like your time, you can logistically, you're planning 14 different little people's lives. Right. You're scheduling, you're great at logistics, like you're great at multitasking and juggling a bunch of things and dealing with emotions that wave with children. So those skill sets though are so important, and the value, like I always tell them, this is my cap for what I'm a single woman, like we're only one income here. So like, this is the cap of what I can donate this year, but like my time is valued at a very, very high rate. So like you want my time, like 2 hours of my time is worth more than you would be getting financially.
Right. Right. Which goes back to, how to decide to be on a board, to your point, time, because that's valuable, right? You don't want to spend tons of hours if you're not invested in. Also, your time is precious. That's a jewel, right? Do you want to give it away unless you know that they really value it? So yes, time.
And what is your biggest piece of advice for women, like ready to ask, lead, or give back? Any of those?
To do it. I think the biggest thing I see is that we pause, right? There's a lot of, well, I should wait until the right moment. I should think about this more. Let me text my best friend's WhatsApp group and see how
Yeah.
they feel about it, which I do it too, right? We're human. And the biggest piece of advice I tell women is do it, right? What's the best thing that can happen? What is the best outcome? Instead of worrying about what's the worst thing, oh my gosh, I need to check with my friends or my colleagues. What's the best outcome? And trust yourself. You know how to do it. Go for it. And the best thing will hopefully happen. And why not for you? I say that a lot to people. Why not you
Yeah.
for it?
No, but I love that. I absolutely love that. And for you personally, what does success look like to you right now?
Building relationships, feeling that I'm making an impact, because you go through a lot of no's, you go through days where people won't pick up the phone or answer what you think is the most beautifully crafted email that you have
Yeah.
ever written. Why wouldn't they see the value in your outreach? To know that there's impact being made, to know that there's relationships being built, and that you're able to give back in a way that's different, to build those connections and those bridges. Having that ingrained and feeling that day to day is really important, because we talked about it. There's so many waves. It's like
Yeah.
sales. You go through the no's, rejections, or what I say sometimes worse, the maybes or the ghosting. And you
Oh,
think,
the
oh,
ghosting's the worst.
the
I'm like,
ghosting,
just tell me no.
just tell me no, right? But oftentimes we're taught to be polite as a society. You don't always hear no. I thought when I first got into this, people would say yes or no. It's going to be very direct. It's not. It's a lot of, I have to think about it, which is true. It's a big decision.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't hear from them again and you wonder if they are in the abyss. You don't know what happened. So ghosting
And you're
happens.
like, you alive? Are you okay? Just
Right.
curious, just looking
tell
out for you.
me. Yes.
Yeah.
Just tell me
Looking
what's
out for
going
you.
on. Yeah, exactly.
So what is one ask women should make more often when it comes to getting involved with nonprofits or in their careers like this?
I would say ask for more. I say that because oftentimes people will tell me what they think they should ask for. When I talk to people who are getting into fundraising or talk to people about what nonprofits they want to be involved in, it's always a very small thing. I find they're like, oh, well, I want to manage one person, or, oh, I want to give this type of donation. And I often will say to them, okay, if you could, in a perfect universe, so to speak, do what you really want, what would you ask for? And the answer is always different from the first reply they give to me. And it's always something like beautiful, right? Something that is above and beyond. And unfortunately, usually they go, well, that's not going to happen for me. Well, that's not realistic. Well, why not? You're not asking to be Queen of England, right? Which, look, that could happen for people, right? But it's
It really could. Thank you, Kate.
really could, right? Kate, look at her. You know, there's no limit if you just believe and put in the work. The thing is, which I said from the start, the timing, right? I just don't know when that door is going to happen.
Yeah.
But if you limit what you're asking for and you shrink yourself, that's just putting you in a position not to get eventually what you're dreaming of, right? The second response they give me is something so big and transformative and wonderful. And you see people light up when they say what they really want.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people, say it the first time, right?
Yeah, be honest with yourself.
Be honest with yourself, because the more you say it too, it's going to be ingrained in your mindset. I can do this. I can have this. If you shrink it down and say, oh, just one more thing and maybe just this little thing, you don't want that. You want the whole cake. Why not you? Other people are baking the cake, getting the cake. Go. I don't know why I'm turning this into.
I love that, Marie Antoinette. I get it.
But, you know, I tell people, say what you really want and don't be ashamed of dreaming big about what that is, because why not you? You should have it. You should totally have it. I think.
I love that. That's an amazing piece of advice. And as we wrap up here, I have one question that I ask all of my guests. But if you could give one piece of advice to your 16-year-old self,
Oh my
What would
God.
that be? I know she's a different girl.
I would tell her it all works out. And the confusion you feel about what's going to happen in the future, what is life going to look like, it all really works out. And I wish I knew that, because when you're 16 and a girl, you're just looking around, trying to find your place in the world, trying to get somebody's attention, usually figuring out friends. And I wish I could tell that 16-year-old girl, it's all going to work out better than you could ever imagine.
I love that. That's so sweet, but so true too. Like
Right.
we're so hyper focused at that age, and the world's going to end. A heavy sigh, eye roll, all of those things. It's like, it's
Right.
going to be fine. We're all going to be good.
Yeah,
It's all going to work out. There's going to be some
exactly.
lows. There's going to be some really great highs. And I
Yeah.
love that.
Hmm.
So tell the listeners where they can find you. So if they want to ask board questions or learn more about fundraising or donations, anything like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I find a lot of people don't write about philanthropy, talk about fundraising, and I'm trying to change that, especially on LinkedIn, because it's a great
Love
platform.
that. Yes, it is.
If you just put in Alison Hoffer on LinkedIn, connect with me, see some of my posts. I would love to know if you're thinking of joining a board, what causes you care about. I'm always open door for me. I would love to
I
hear from
love that. Everybody go follow her on LinkedIn. I will put the link down in the bottom of the notes here, but it's such a good way to get involved, not just for your community, but like it truly helps yourself and like just gives your soul such a shining moment to be able to really see how you can affect other people. If that might be your time or your money or both, whatever you can handle. I think that's a phenomenal thing to continue to give back in life. We're all so privileged in so many different ways. We got to give back. It's what's going to happen when we get to those pearly gates is looking back on that and being like, no, I made a difference.
Absolutely. We can all make a difference. That's the best part.
Right? Thank you so much for being here, Alison. This was such a meaningful conversation and I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Of course. All right, everybody. I will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.